Welcome to the Unfiltered Tea with Evie podcast, where personal brands and service providers come for honest, anti-sleaze marketing advice that actually works. I'm Evie Taveras, founder of Evie Taveras Branding, and if you're tired of manipulative tactics, sleazy marketing strategies, and feeling like you're the only one who doesn't have your business all together, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we're diving into copywriting, personal branding strategy, business mindset, and balancing business with kids and real life. I'll be bringing in some epic guests, including business experts, to share their insights and real experiences in life and business. You can expect real life stories, tactical tips, and the occasional spicy Evie moment, all served up with your morning cup of tea. So grab your tea, get cozy, and let's get into it. This is a little bit of a different solo episode, and I'm not entirely sure how it's going to go. I don't have super high expectations of how it's going to turn out, but my vision for this is a little bit of like an audio blog into my taking 3 weeks off of work. In case you didn't know, we have had this trip booked. It's been in the works and then not in the works because of work and life so many times. And now the trip is finally happening. It is currently Saturday and we are leaving on Wednesday night. My office is full of so many different things: clothes, carry-on bags, chargers, electronics, medicines, souvenirs for family in Portugal, camera. There's so many things in here right now that I'm looking at, but let's rewind a little bit because I'm getting ahead of myself. So we are going to Portugal with my husband, my 2 kids, my in-laws, my sister-in-law and her family, my brother-in-law and his wife, and my other brother-in-law as well. So there's a lot of us going. And this is actually our 3rd time going to Portugal. My husband and I have been twice with his family, but this will be the first time with kids. So we're super excited for them to be able to experience it, to see a different country and see the different culture and all of those things. And my father-in-law has family in Portugal as well. So he moved here when he was 18. He's got family just outside of Porto in the north of Portugal. So we've met them when we've gone previously, but it's been a long time. Like I said, this is the first time going with kids. So it's been 6 years. I think I was pregnant with my oldest the last time we went. So it's been over 6 years since we've been there. So, and there was kids that were really little when we were there who are now a bit grown up. There's new kids. Families have been growing on both sides. So we've got some little Canadian souvenirs to bring for them. I've got some maple lollipops to bring because that seemed super Canadian. So yeah, so we are going for, I believe it's 16 days altogether. And we're doing the first half in the north, so that we can spend time with family. And then we're spending the other half in the south in the Algarve, which beautiful, honestly, the most beautiful beaches. But I would say I'm most excited, for the country as a whole, just the relaxed atmosphere, that easygoing European vibe. I'm so excited. That being said, I have my own business. So obviously taking a trip like this involves some time off and some pre-planning, and lots of pre-planning actually. I've ended up, because of when we're leaving on a Wednesday, and I was like, I'm not going to want to work the Monday and Tuesday before that. And we fly back in on a Thursday afternoon, and I'm probably not going to want to work the Friday. So that means I am taking 3 weeks off of my business. The most I think I've ever taken is 1. I mean, I think over the holidays stuff kind of shuts down, but I'm still checking emails, I'm still posting, I'm still doing the things that business owners like to do. But my vision for this trip was to take 3 weeks off. I've been doing a lot of prep work for that. I have my monthly retainer clients that I write blogs and emails for them every month. And so what I did in April is I doubled up. So I wrote their April and their May content in April. I have my corporate client that we wanted to squeeze in a couple more projects in the month. So we are in the process. There's the final feedback going in on one of the videos that we're doing. I had to do the first draft for a newsletter for June so that they can kind of take the month of May to go over it, or the 3 weeks that I'm gone to go over it and add their feedback. And we also did a last minute film last week that was about 2 or 3 hours away. So I was gone for the full day for that, but we filmed it, which means that now it can be edited while I'm gone, which is amazing. And we also booked another one for June. So that was some of that groundwork, that prep work. The other thing I did was made sure that my assistant Serena was all set up. She's actually, I feel like I have a bit of a leg up on this. She's obviously one of my good friends. So all I'm doing is giving her my laptop. And I do have an out of office set, but I didn't want it to be like, I didn't want to set it and be like, hey, my house is empty for 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Because you never know who's going to email you. But anyway, I didn't want that. So I just set it as I'm out of office until this date. Serena's checking, or my team is checking the emails every 24 to 48 hours and will reply if it's urgent, if it requires a response, that kind of thing. But otherwise, you'll hear from me on June 1st. And Serena's just going to have my laptop and she's just going to check it every so often. I told her it's not a big deal. I also have somebody coming to water my plants because I did end up planting my garden. And yeah, just like letting all of my clients know, any agencies that I work with, I've let them know that I'm not going to be available during this time. But then there's also like the whole Instagram thing. I have a few posts scheduled because I didn't want to just completely go dark for 3 weeks. And it's not that hard to like prep a few posts and get them in there. So I did do that. As far as stories, like I do post on stories quite often. That's a big part of my marketing, but it's also something that I kind of enjoy doing. Like I love sharing experiences with people, with my community. And I'm not going in with any expectations, similar to this podcast. My goal is with this podcast to maybe record a couple times while we're there, or, whenever the time feels right. If I have something that I kind of want to talk about during the travel, then it can be like that little bit of a vlog or a blog. And I've done this before with a trip where I'm like, I'm not going to not let myself post. You know what I mean? Like if I feel called to share a moment, if I feel called to pop on and say hi, like whatever that looks like, but I'm also not holding myself to going on either. Like I'm not holding myself to being on there. I want to be as present as possible on the trip, obviously. And even when we were looking at the phone plans, because I think you can get like eSIM cards or whatever, and we were back and forth on whether to do both of our phones on a roam like home. Obviously, we're going with a lot of other people. We need to be able to use maps. We have our own car. We need to be able to stay in communication with each other. And we were back and forth on whether to put like a roam like home plan on both of our phones. And the thing that I was hesitant about is I don't know if I want access to my phone the whole time. I find that is kind of the nice thing about going to like an all inclusive where you're just on Wi-Fi. So like when you're on the beach, you can't check anything. You can't check your messages. You're not getting notifications. So that was something I was kind of hesitant about. But at the same time, like I think once I'm there, it'll just be really easy to unplug. And I also have my brick that I can like lock and unlock certain apps on my phone. So if there's like, if I want to have it brick during the day and like just check in at night, like, I don't know. Like I said, there's no expectations. There's no set rules. Obviously, I want to be as present as possible, and whatever that looks like, I'm happy with. I think that's all I have to share right now. Like I said, I'll kind of try and pop in whenever the time feels right, whenever there's like a little moment or anything that I want to share. I think it might be fun to kind of share some of the experiences and that kind of thing. I did finish off yesterday, so my out of office officially started like today on Saturday, and I did have one. I had the last guest episode of season 1 with Pooja that I had to edit and just get scheduled for Monday. But that's literally it. I had a little bit of client work left to do on Friday. I finished that. And now there's nothing. It's like I kept giggling because I feel like when we're business owners, we have a to-do list and the to-do list just keeps running. Like we keep adding to it and that's okay. Like that's fine. But in this case, there was a to-do list. And once the to-do list was done, it was done for 3 weeks. And that feels weird. There was a lot of emotions this week because I'm also like a very anxious traveler. So like the whole thought of traveling already gets me like in the feels and like a little bit anxious and so it was weird signing off and like saying goodbye for 3 weeks basically. But I'm excited. I'm super excited to spend the time with my family. I'm super excited to see Portugal and just take the time to just relax. And I have a little journal that I can, if anything comes up, any ideas, anything like that, I can just write it all down. So stay tuned for more. I'll check back in when I can, but yeah, we'll chat soon. That's it. That's it for part 1. So it is officially our second morning in Portugal. I meant to do a little something yesterday, but today obviously got away from me. The flight went really well and everything. I did not sleep on the flight, which I didn't see coming. I honestly thought that I'd be so tired I was going to sleep. I did not, but I did sleep like 15 minutes on the car ride from Lisbon to just outside of Porto, which is where we're staying for the first week of the trip. So, yeah, yesterday we woke up, we had our first full day. We have there's a bunch of us here, so we all have our own rental car and everything. We took the kids to go see a castle that we actually saw when we came here. How long ago was that now? I don't even know. We've been here twice before. So the first time was like 12 years ago, and then the second time was like 7 years ago. And it was I'm gonna try and not butcher the saying of this, but the Castle di Santa Maria de Feira, which was about 20 minutes away. And it's just like this medieval castle over 1,000 years old. It was used for like a lot of the battles in, I can't remember what it was called, something about the Christian Revolution. I don't know, the Crusades, all of that stuff. And it's like obviously just like stone everywhere. Like it's not in any way like a palace or anything. There's no railings and very small stairs that go up very high. So we did climb everything with the kids, definitely holding tight to their hands. And there was even a couple points. I'm not a big fan of heights, so there was even a couple points where I like gave one of the kids to my brother-in-law. And I was like, Josh, I need you to help. I need you to help her down the stairs because like I'm gonna struggle to get down the stairs. But it was really fun. And then there's a park right nearby, and they're very smart here in Portugal. They have cafes right in the parks. So literally the girls are just playing on this big cool park, and we're just sitting there drinking cafe de leche and chá con leche and coffee and tea and just enjoying it. And when we were driving around yesterday through like the winding little tiny streets that are in Europe, people are just like standing around. They're not in any rush. Like there was a man, we came around a corner, he's just standing there, just watching the cars go by. And like he looked like he was in like retirement age. He was like not that old, but he's just standing there, just relaxing, watching the cars go by. I'm like, wouldn't that be nice to just feel like you can just stand there and watch the cars go by? I feel like that's such a huge difference between European countries or a lot of European countries and Canada and America as well. Just we're always go, go, go. So it's felt very nice to just slow down and relax. We also, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I've actually been doing Duolingo in preparation for this trip, and I made it up to like a streak of 496 days. It hasn't helped very much, I would say. Most of what I know is around like ordering food and like travel stuff. Like I don't actually know how to have conversation with anybody. Um, And my father-in-law's brother and his wife came to see us last night. They live here in Portugal. I'd say half an hour away from where we're staying here. And I tested it out. I've been trying to test it out. I've not been shy about it, but I still no clue what they're saying most of the time. I catch the odd word here and there. But I did order my own tea yesterday at the park, which I was pretty proud of. Yeah, Duolingo really let me down on this one because yeah, I don't know a lick of like regular. So yeah, our place is really nice. I'm really happy with it. The girls have honestly been incredible. I'm exhausted and jet lagged and off, and they're just being like such little troopers, and they're loving every minute. They're like, my youngest is like, I love Portugal. I love our Portugal car. I love our Portugal house. Can we just live in Portugal? And like we went to the little supermarket around the corner. There's like these lovely ladies who own it over there. And they're just like walking around and they're practicing saying obrigada, and they're like talking to the ladies in the store. And I'm just like, man, my girls, like the European version of my girls is just adorable and amazing. So I am just waiting for a pot of tea to be ready. I'm gonna have a cup of tea and sit out in the little sunroom that we have in our place. We're near the ocean a little bit. It's like a seaside little fishing village that we're staying in. And I'm gonna sit outside and enjoy my tea and maybe read a book. This is literally what I imagined when I thought about coming here. Just sitting and drinking my tea, reading a book in like a really sunny spot in the morning was literally my dream and coming true. So I'm very happy about that. So that's a little bit of an update here. Again, no expectations here. Not sure how many updates there will be, but stay tuned for more. Now we are on our last day in the north, and I'm just sitting in our bed looking out the window. Our suitcases are mostly packed, but I'm just sitting and enjoying the last little moment here in this little apartment that we're in the north, sipping a cup of tea, just enjoying and kind of reflecting on the first half of the trip. We're here for another week, but we'll be in the south for the rest. And it's really bittersweet. Super excited to go to the south, and the south is like a much more relaxing leg of the trip. This has been a very, very busy week, but all good things, obviously. It's always fun to be a tourist and to go around and see different things. And I feel like we've had the opportunity to see things that are maybe not usually on people's tourist list because my father-in-law is from here, because we've been spending time with his brothers. We've gotten to see like different places that you typically don't get to see when you're just visiting. So that's been really cool. A couple of the places that we've already been, we went to Aveiro, which is, they call it like Little Venice, but then we did a boat tour along the canals, and the tour guide actually said it's funny that they call it Little Venice because they actually are bigger. They have more canals than Venice. And the city has more population than Venice. And so it's just funny, the perception that you call it Little Venice, but it's actually technically bigger than Venice, and in his opinion, better than Venice. I've not been to Venice, so I can't speak to that, but it is very beautiful there. Just like a small little town with like lots of canals and bridges, and you can take, it's not a gondola because it's quite a bigger boat. It's a boat that was used for going out and bringing salt back in from salt mines or something. I can't remember. I'm bad for this kind of stuff. But we got to ride on one of these boats, and we had a tour guide, and the kids loved it. Just a very cute little quiet place. There's lots of like little shops to go into, and of course bakeries. There's a bakery on like every, like I want to say every block, but it's like more than every block. There's like more one bakery on every block, which is really great if you love bread, which I do. So it's very handy. And after that, we drove through to Ovar, which is very close to where we're staying here. We're in Furaduro. Ovar is famous for this cake that was made by accident. It's called Pound de la. It's funny because I actually heard about this cake, not when we got here, but Dan and I were watching a Gordon Ramsay show where he was going around the world and trying different foods from around the world. And he went to Portugal, and one of the things that he was learning how to make was pound de la. And it was, the chef was making it for like a prince or something, or somebody, some sort of royalty. And she messed up the recipe and added too many eggs and didn't bake it for long enough that it ended up not cooked all the way through, but he loved it. And now it's like this like staple food and this famous cake that you can buy in Ovar. So we went to the place where it was originally made, and we had some pound de la. And I'm not really much one for an underbaked cake, but the outside tasted delicious where it was a bit more baked, but everybody loved it. We ate the whole thing up. So, and then, yeah, we've honestly, like, they don't eat dinner till like 7 or 8 at night here. So I think that was the night that we met up with Dan's one uncle. And we went out for dinner, and it's obviously a lot of fish on the menu, but found a way to find something that I like. And because I'm not a big fish person, but they have like turkey and beef and pork and all these other meats that you can have. That was a late night. That ended up, we didn't eat until like 8 or after 8. And then by the time everybody eats, it's a big table, everybody has dessert, everybody has their cafe de leche or cafe con leche. It was a very late night, but the girls were absolute troopers, and they hung on till the very end, and then we got them home to bed. So that was really nice. And then the next day we went to, where did we go again? Let me reference my notes here. We went for lunch at my husband's other uncle's house. So he's got 2 uncles here. And so we went for lunch at the other uncle's house, and all of his family was there. He has 4 kids, and then most of them have kids, and like they're around this. Some of the kids are older, like they were probably our kids' age the last time that we were here. And the one little girl is a few years older than my daughter, but they were playing. And it was funny when we were driving there, my daughter was concerned about not being able to speak the language, which is really cool that like we have smartphones now, like we have Google Translate. So she actually took it, and you can put it on a conversation mode. So like she was actually having a full conversation. And actually they do teach English starting at grade 1. They teach English in public school. I think it's from 1 to 6 or something like that. I can't remember. So like a lot of the younger people do know quite a bit of English. And then people obviously who need to know English for their work as well, they speak very good English. So we haven't been completely in the dark. My Duolingo Portuguese it's not fantastic. So it's not super handy for having a full conversation, but I do feel like compared to last time when we knew absolutely nothing, you can tell that they just kind of appreciate like that extra little bit of effort to learn like a few words at least, even though it's a bit tricky. But just the generosity just always blows me away. Like they have a big family. See, we have a lot of people here. We're like a group of 14 with kids included. So to go to that extent to like make lunch for everybody. It's like an outdoor barbecue with like meats and cheeses and like all this delicious food. And we just sat outside. It was so like just so generous. And obviously wine. And then Dan's uncle, last time we were here, he gave us like nice bottles of port wine. We actually haven't even opened the one that we got last time. It's still sitting in our dining room. It's funny, like 10-year wedding anniversary and having kids still didn't feel like a special enough occasion to open this bottle of port wine. Maybe we'll have to open it soon because now we have another one. But he did specifically say that this one that he gave us, he gave Dan the best one because he's the oldest and because he wants us to open them when one of our daughters gets married. That one will be saved for another 20 years or so. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, that was really lovely to catch up with all of them. We had met them before the last two times that we've been here, but just nice to catch up and see the kids that have all grown up. And like some of the kids are like 18, they're university age, and they're wanting to come to Canada one day. So definitely looking forward to entertaining them in Canada as well. We told them to come in the winter because it's pretty cool to see the snow, but the one really didn't seem to want to come be in the snow. So we'll see how that goes. After that, there was like this medieval festival that we went to the last time we were here, and I remembered it. And it's so funny. It was on again this past weekend. So we went to that. The kids loved it. There was like live music and everything. We sat in like a restaurant and had like some sangria and some charcuterie and just had a very chill and good time there. The next day was probably a big highlight day for me. We went further into the north and up into the mountains. And we had been to the mountains, I think the first time we came here, we went up into the mountains. But obviously, that was like 13 years ago. So a very distant memory. When I tell you that Dan is having way too much fun driving on these roads, like the smile on his face, and it's all manual transmission. And last time that we were here, I forget how many of us, I think it was the first time. So sorry, the first time we were here, there was like 8 of us, and we were in like the biggest vehicle you can possibly get in Portugal, which was this van. And my father-in-law was driving, and we were going up these mountains. And I remember looking out the window and like my heart stopped because there's some points where there's no railings. And this is a hardcore steep mountain. And you look out the window and you look down, and it's just cliff and rock. And if you slide off the edge, you fall to your death. I remember just kind of freaking out a little bit the first time we did that. This time was a little bit better because we were in a smaller car, not in a big giant van, and maybe there was more railings than last time. It seemed to me like there was some more railings, still not quite enough. Like there was still some spots, especially on turns, where we're like, how is there no railings here? Like, how are more people not dying up here? Because Dan was going like the speed limit or like slightly below the speed limit, but like there was still people riding his butt, like because he wasn't going fast enough and passing us because he wasn't going fast enough. So then he felt like he had to go faster, so that he didn't annoy the locals. He wanted to be a local and he loved it. Like the turns, like absolute, what is it called? Switchbacks, or like if you looked at the map on the Apple CarPlay, it's literally like taking a pencil and just zigzagging, like you're just doing switchbacks the whole entire way up the mountain. And then you'd go up super high, your ears are popped, and there'd be this town and like this fully like functioning multiple bakeries, banks, grocery store, like just this beautiful town in the middle of this mountain. And then we would keep going up and there would be like more towns. And we went to, I think there was like the suspension bridge. So we went up to one of the peaks and then you have to hike down. It was like a 20-minute hike downhill on like cobblestone, teeny tiny streets, like so tiny that there was only like one or two cars, like one car maybe that came by when we were walking this trail. We had to run and find a hole in the wall to hide in. Like that's how tiny these streets were. But the views, like you're just like over the city, over the town, and like the mountains are surrounding it, and like the sky is blue, and like there's like the clay roofs, and the church bells, and the further in we went, then they had like slate roofs and like black slate roofs. And if you go on my Instagram, I'm going to share some pictures too. But just I kept stopping and taking pictures. I had my little Fujifilm camera with me for the trip, and I kept falling behind because I would just stop and like take videos and take pictures, but it just didn't capture it. And like I was like just absolutely my breath like took my breath away. And I wish I could have just like bottled it up and just captured it, but it really just did not do it justice. So I did my best and I will share them over on my Instagram. And then, so we went down, we checked out the suspension bridge, but we didn't go across it because you have to book a time and you have to buy your ticket ahead of time, which we didn't want to do that anyway because we have little kids with us. And actually, the suspension bridge, you have to be 6 years or older because it's too scary. It's too scary for like little kids. So we did not do the suspension bridge, but it was very beautiful to go down and just look at the area where the suspension bridge was. And obviously the walk was beautiful. And going back uphill was just a bit tiring because these are very steep hills. And then we went back down to the town that was in the mountains and we had probably one of our favorite meals since we've been here, other than the ones that Dan's family has made. As far as eating out, we had probably one of our favorite meals. And it was like big platters. They do a lot of things like family style here. So they'll give you like a big platter of like steak and then a big bowl of rice and potatoes or French fries. And obviously it's cheaper to buy. It's probably honestly cheaper to buy bottles of wine than it is to buy the glass. So we we have had a few bottles of wine with each meal, but the wine is so good here. Like I find at home alcohol and wine, especially wine, makes my fingers swell, gives me headaches, hurts my tummy. It's not good. Portuguese wine is very good and it doesn't affect me the same way as Canadian wine. Plus it's super cheap, so why not? So then we met up with Dan's uncle again because he has a house in the mountains that he's bought and that he's fully renovating. We didn't know to what extent yet. We hadn't seen any pictures. But he says, follow me up the mountain. And we said, oh, well, we have the map. What's the address? He doesn't know the address. That's how remote this house is. He told us what town it was. And he said, no, 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 follow me because I'm going to take you the scenic route. And we're like, okay, cool. Drove like a local, obviously. And Dan, wanting to impress his uncle, drove to keep up. So we were like, I say screaming, but like we were laughing because it was actually humorous how insane these roads were. Just like twisty turn and like then it went down to like one lane and then you're like hoping that something doesn't come around the corner and like smack into you and it was just absolutely insane, but the girls loved it and we just kept going up and up and up and up and up and then like the trees kind of clear and everything goes really flat and you realize how high you really are. Like we were at the very peak of the biggest mountain and that was his scenic route. So he goes up when he drives there, he goes up and he goes up to the peak and then he goes a little bit down into the town where he lives or where his house is. And we were at the peak and you know those Instagram reels where it's like that really epic music that goes with some beautiful scenery or something. I stepped out of the car and like that music just played in my head because we were literally in the clouds and like you're looking down and there's the town we were just in, but it's like a tiny little speck and there's like no trees, there's nothing around. It's just the top of a mountain. And like it was insane, like just so beautiful. And again, the pictures just can never do it justice. Literally like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Just to get to experience that with the kids and with Dan was just really beautiful. So anyway, so then we go and we drive to his mountain house and it needs a lot of work. Like it's like a full they're kind of like restoring it and then they're gonna have it be like their vacation house, but then eventually they want to live up there full time. This town, there's no cell service. There is one cafe. There's like one little shop, like just silence. There's nothing. There's no sound. You can't call anyone. Like you're just completely cut off from the world. And there's only, I think I only saw, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 houses up there. And was talking to Dan's aunt, who she doesn't speak a lot of English. I think she understands a little bit, but I was trying to like ask her, like, you love it up here? Like, you want to live up here? Like, you're excited to live up here? And she said, yes, yes. very tranquil, calm. We said there's no like nobody can reach you. And they're building like a little patio, or part of their house is like a little patio that they'll be able to sit outside. And just imagining being able to sit up there in the silence and just enjoy it. Like I can't even imagine it. They're actually, I think they're building like an Airbnb in the one part of the house. So my dream now is to go up and stay up there with them one day. So that was definitely a highlight of the trip. So other than that, the next day we went into Porto. We were going to take a train into the Douro Valley and try and do some wine tours, but by this point we were wearing pretty thin on the energy. It's obviously been a very busy few days. So we kind of just last minute decided to go to Porto. We went to Porto last time and we saw quite a bit when we were here last time. So we did something different this time. We did like a river cruise where you could go down and see Porto, and then you can also go and have a wine tour at one of the Porto wineries, which for some reason we thought it was like wine caves, because the one time we were here we were driving and Dan's uncle was pointing and saying, "Oh, those are the caves where they make the port wine." So maybe some of them make them in caves. This was like the facility was built around like a really old house. The woman who started the winery, I think it's Ferreira. She had like this house, and then there was like streets around it, and then they built the whole place around the streets and around the house. And it was like very dark and like cave-like. There was like tunnels and stuff. So it was really cool to see and to learn about how they make port wine. And honestly, you think taking like a 4 to 6 year old on a wine tour would be like a little bit scary, but the girls were so good. My oldest even asked like a question that was like actually a really good question. She wanted to know how long they have to sit in the barrels for, how long it takes to make the wine. So it was really cool to see them experience that and to see them be really curious about the process as well. So port wine, I guess, when they're making it, it starts the same as regular wine, and like the different kinds, there's like white, tawny, and ruby. They all start the same. They just partway through have a different process. And port wine is made by adding a liqueur such as firewater, which is a very popular, like it's like moonshine, Portuguese moonshine. It's called firewater. I believe it's aguardente in Portuguese. They add that partway through to stop the fermentation process, which is what keeps it so sweet. And then the different barrel sizes or types of storage is what determines whether it's white, tawny, or ruby. So the biggest barrels that were like literally the size of our apartment probably here is for the ruby, because it has the most oxygen. And then the regular size wine barrels is for tawny because it's middle oxygen. And then they had these concrete cellars or holders for the white port wine, which has the least amount of oxygen, which keeps it white. So it was all very interesting. And honestly, I never knew like the difference between like the port wines and like how it was made, like any of that. So that was really fascinating to learn about as well. And yeah, and then we stopped at McDonald's on the way home because we felt like the girls could use like a Happy Meal and French fries, and they had the playland, so they went there and they like played on the play place. And then yesterday was our last full day. So we had a super chill day. There's like some shops around here. So me and the other girls went shopping. The kids played. It was warm. It was hot. I got a little bit burnt, I'm not gonna lie, which honestly, I needed it anyway. I needed a tan, and now I have my base layer before we go to the south to where it's even hotter and sunnier. And yeah, the girls just played, and we went to Dan's other uncle. We went to the one for lunch, we went to this one for dinner, and saw all of their kids and their grandkids. Just a delicious home cooked Portuguese meal. They made like nice Portuguese desserts. The uncle made this recipe. He was up at 8 in the morning to make this recipe, which is kind of like a rice pudding, but with like spaghetti pasta and like cinnamon. But it was the recipe of their mother. So my father-in-law's mother. And actually last time we were here, he also made dessert that was a recipe from their mother. So just kind of special that he's carrying on kind of that tradition and carrying on those recipes. So, and then like an orange cake with melted chocolate on top. Just like, again, the generosity is just amazing. Like giant like dinners and chickens, and like everything's just seasoned so nice. And like even the rice, we're like, what kind of rice is this? And it's like a rice that we don't have in Canada. And it's like, why is even your rice better? So that was the last time that we got to spend with the family. And now this morning we are packing up. We are off to the Algarve. Feels bittersweet that it's like half over already. And I really love the north. I love the scenery of the north, but at the same time, I'm also very excited for the south because my cousin from England is meeting us. She flew in this morning. Her and her boyfriend are going to meet us in the south, and we're gonna get to spend some time with her, which I'm super excited about because I haven't seen her in how many years? 4 years, 3 years, I think. So I'm very excited, and it's going to be a more relaxing time, not quite as much. I mean, there is lots to see in the South, but this is usually the opportunity that we take to kind of have a bit more of a chill vacation. So very much looking forward to it. I got to go finish packing up and get ready so that we can leave, and we'll catch up soon. Okay, so I did leave you on a little bit of a cliffhanger because we're actually officially home. We just got home last night. I'm just sitting out in our backyard having my morning cup of tea. And yeah, obviously the South was very, very busy, not ideal for sitting down and trying to reflect. Um, we honestly, the South, we really didn't do a whole lot. We had my cousin from England and her partner actually flew to meet up with us in the South. So it was just like a lot of time spent with family, time spent with them, went out for a couple dinners, had a couple like dinners in. The South is definitely much more expensive than the North. Like Dan and I were just looking at the credit card bills, which is always a painful thing to do after vacation. But we were looking at the credit card bills and like, we could literally eat in the North for a family of 4 with my youngest who loves steak, and we could eat for, like, 60 bucks Canadian, including, like, a bottle of wine, and then in the South, like, we were double that basically for a family of 4. We didn't eat out as much in the South for that reason. But yeah, just we didn't really do any day trips like we did in the North. We kind of just hung around. It was a totally different resort that we stayed in. We've stayed in this other resort in Golden Beach, Albufeira, twice before when we've gone, but it's a very party area. There's a lot of bachelor and bachelorette parties from like England and Germany and the Netherlands and Ireland. So you can just imagine the noise and the atmosphere. It's very busy and like party central. The main strip where there's like a bunch of bars and like everybody goes out is like right up the hill from where we typically stay. So we opted for something a bit quieter this time. I'm not 100% sure what the area was, but the place that we stayed was Alfagar Apart Hotels. And there was like a group of hotels around there. But then we all shared like the same pool. We could go and use the other pool. But it was really nice. It was so much more kid friendly. There was a pool with slides and they had like shows and entertainment every day. They had bingo at night. They had restaurants that you could go to there, but then there was also a couple of local restaurants within walking distance. So it's kind of nice to have the option. From where we were on the resort, it was a bit of a hike to the beach, and there's like a very big staircase. So we only did like 2 beach days, which I'm more of a pool person anyway, but I found it interesting because I think the other years I liked the South better because of the beaches and stuff. But I think this time I was just like so excited for the culture and the Portuguese culture and like European life that I just dove headfirst into the North. And I personally really loved the North more this time. I don't know if it was the place we stayed in the South. It didn't feel like Portugal. It just felt like, I mean, when you left the resort, then like you could see bits and pieces. And if you went to like, we went to a couple of other beaches and you have like those gorgeous Portuguese beaches with the caves and the rocks and like even driving there's like all the white houses or like pink houses, different colored with like the clay roofs or the clay tile roofs. But because there were so many English speaking people there, we just spent an entire week trying to speak Portuguese. And then we get to here and it's like everybody's speaking better English than us now. So it just didn't feel as much of like the cultural escape that I had fallen in love with in the North. I still really enjoyed myself, but there was definitely a mourning period of like, we're not in the North anymore. Like this is just like a beach vacation now, but still really, really obviously really enjoyed it and loved that we got to meet up with my family from England and spend time with them. So other than that, we had the option to do a couple day trips. Dan did like a deep sea fishing or reef fishing trip the one afternoon, and we went to like this marina, Villamora Marina, that we had been to before, which was really beautiful. Like it's a very bougie part of the Algarve. There's like all the super yachts and everything in the marina there, and then there's like a ton of restaurants, and they've got like patios right on the water. So that was really nice we went there for our last night. But a lot of it in the South, this is why I really didn't give an update because there really wasn't a lot of exciting stuff to talk about in the South. It was just a very like reset and recharge period. And it definitely, I feel like I had a lot of space to just like think and like, I didn't expect my head to go this clear. I expected to just like think a little bit about work and like maybe get some content ideas, like whatever. I did not think about work one. And I had Serena monitoring my emails. So I didn't have to. And I think that was, I guess, what I really needed was to just like take some time fully off, not think about work, and just give myself space to breathe, basically, which really just kind of felt like the reset that I think we all really needed. I think Dan needed it as well. And it was really nice for the kids too, for us to just have that really present and focused time with them. So that pretty much wraps up our Portugal trip. We flew home through Lisbon. So where we were staying was about 2 hours and 20 minutes away from the airport. So we had to be up at 4:30 Portugal time, which is 5 hours ahead. Obviously, we had already adjusted, but it was still a bit of a brutal wake up, and drove the 2 hours to Lisbon. And then I will say, like, it was a crazy airport. I had seen things online, like horror stories about hours and hours in lineups, and just that it's like the craziest airport in Europe right now. And that was true. It was very busy, but they're very accommodating for families, which was I knew that already, but then it was like nobody had confirmed that with these new lineups and these new systems that it was still family friendly. But we did get like priority through a couple of lineups, like boarded security and like boarding the plane. We did not, however, get priority through the dreaded passport control lineup. It was like it was the biggest lineup I've ever seen in my life. And we went up and Dan, because it said like families. So we went up and Dan asked, like, can we go in? And they're like, well, it's only families with children under 2. And she's like, 3 and a year. We tried to make her sound as close to 2 as possible. We're like, she just turned 4. Like, but he's like, I have already turned away families. Like, he's like, I apologize, but I can't make any exceptions. And he said, even if I let you through, they might not let you through the next part of the lineup where they're like really checking who's going through the lineups, basically. So we had to go all the way to the back of the lineup. And the crazy thing was like, we went through security, like we went through, and then you go through duty free and you're like, we didn't have to do that horrible lineup that I've been seeing on Instagram. No, the horrible lineup is after the duty free. And again, we just recently went to the Blue Jays baseball game right before we went away. And they were doing some jersey giveaway for the first 15,000 people. And we went up the CN Tower before the game and we could look down and we could see the lineup of people who had apparently been waiting there since 10 in the morning to get this jersey. And the lineup was probably about that long. And the only good news is that it moved really quickly. We were only in it for 45 minutes and we didn't see the end of the line until the last 10 minutes. So it moved really quickly. It was always moving. Like, they were very good about that, very on top of it. You could tell that they didn't want to make people stand and wait in this very long lineup. It's just, it was what it was. You know what I mean? And the other good thing was that we had this really nice couple behind us. They were from BC. He was originally from Australia. We, chatted. They've got like kids a little bit older. It was their first time traveling without their kids, and they have a farm. And we just, obviously, we got to know quite a bit about their lives in 45 minutes of standing in a lineup. But they were super nice. So that made the time go really quickly, that we were just chatting with them. And the girls were so good. Oh my goodness. Like, they actually slept on the drive from our hotel to the airport. So they weren't like overtired at that point. You could tell they were getting a little restless by the end, but they were so good. Like, they were like, we want food, we want snacks, we want water, but like still very, very good. And honestly, I wanted food and snacks, water by that point anyway, too. So, and then even when we got through that lineup, there was like the part where you go off and you do the automated machines, which still had a bit of a lineup, but they did push us through to the manual desk, which was something I had read online as well. And again, they moved very quickly. So it really wasn't as bad as it could have been. We did give ourselves lots of time at the airport and we didn't like dilly dally at all, which was good because we literally got through that lineup and boarding was already starting, I think, for our airplane by the time we got through it. But we went to the bathroom, we filled up our water bottle. That's one tip that I would say was a big tip for me. I've never, I see people bring the water bottles through the airports and then they empty them, but they still bring them through security. I've never done that before, but I did that this time because I'm like, it's going to be a long, long day and a long, long flight. And they really didn't give me very much water on the flight there. And I was so dehydrated. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And so sure enough, we get through this big passport control line. There's a water bottle refill station. So we did that. We went to the washroom, gave the girls a quick snack, and then we literally went to our gate, got the priority pass because we have a family. So we skipped the whole lineup to get on, and we walked straight onto our plane. So we just made it. And like Dan's family, his sister has a 1-year-old. So they obviously got to use that priority lineup for that passport control line. And they actually went and got like Dan's parents because they hadn't gone through yet. They went and got Dan's parents so that they could go through the lineup with them. If they hadn't have done that, I really don't think that Dan's parents would have made the flight because they were a bit behind us because they were getting their other son on another flight because he didn't book with us because he booked last minute. It's a whole thing. But anyway, everybody made it on the flight. I would say it even maybe left 5 or 10 minutes late because people were still getting on the flight. So if you're traveling to Europe and you're listening to this, or to Portugal, I'll just say, do believe what they say and do give yourself lots of time to get there. It wasn't as bad as I think it could have been, but that was because we gave ourselves so much time. So that would be my advice. Overall, coming home, walking in the house was just like the weirdest feeling ever after 2 weeks away. I almost forgot what it looked like. The garden is thriving because I had a friend come and water it while I was gone. Sleeping in my own bed after being up at 4:30 Portugal time. Again, 5 hours ahead. So I'm going to do this math wrong. I know I am. 11:30 our time. So 11:30 our time at night. And then we literally went to bed. I put the kids to bed at 6:30 and I went to bed immediately after, and I fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow and was up at like 6 this morning. So I feel like timing wise, it's going to benefit us, like where our flight was and like what our travel time was. It worked out that we should be hopefully well adjusted coming home for the time change. So we're just having a super easy morning. My mom brought our dog home and last night so that I didn't have to drive while being incredibly exhausted. And she's coming back today. She's going to help me with the giant amount of unpacking and laundry that I now have waiting for me. So thanks for coming along. It was funny because Dan said, have you been like writing down what we were doing? He knew I was recording a little bit while we were away. He's like, have you been like keeping track of everything that we did? Like, because I don't want to forget anything, because it's already like, even when we were in the south, what we had done in the north felt like a totally other trip, felt like a totally other time. And it was like the saddest feeling ever. And so he's like, I just want to make sure that we remember what we did. And I said, Dan, don't worry. I got you. I've got the podcast. We're good. So hopefully you enjoyed listening and following along. This will also just be like a fun little memory for us that we'll have a little play-by-play of our trip that we can come back and listen to. And back to life, back to work, but it always feels a little bit different after a trip like that. And you just kind of have the reminder to just slow down and just enjoy life. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I've brought home, the biggest piece of it that I brought home. Live life, enjoy it, and just give yourself the time and the space to just take a deep breath and clear your head, because I think that's something that we forget very often here in Canada. And especially as business owners, something that we very much forget to do. So that's my little reminder, and we will chat soon. I want to take a quick moment just to thank you so much for joining me in this space, and just to encourage you that if there was anything that kind of sparked something for you, or that you felt like somebody that you know maybe needed to hear, please feel free to share the episode. And if you are excited to hear more, go ahead and subscribe and listen to more of the episodes. I'm so excited that you're here, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you.